This project recognizes the RIBA as a monument to the troubling choreographies of colonial development. Reviewing the tools of the architect today, is there a chance to deconstruct the very matter of the institution? A future of multiple possibilities that could lead to a more nourishing future. This is RIBA Interrupted.
Set in the affluent central London area of Portland Street, walking distance from the Regent's Park, foreign embassies, and prestigious private schools, sits the headquarters of the Royal Institute of British Architects. It's often abbreviated as the RIBA, although some might also call it the RIBA. The primary artwork on this facade of the building is called the Architectural Aspiration, an artistic expression of the work and ideals of this great institution. Its equally formidable artist, Sir Bainbridge Coppenall, is pictured alongside it in the process of its completion. 189 years since great learned men created the Institute in a London tavern, many strapping young men continue to educate themselves towards the aspirations of this great scientific profession, inhabiting the various public spaces in the building, such as the lecture hall, events hall, and library. Most prodigiously, the Institute awards the Royal Gold Medal, agreed by Queen Victoria and subsequent monarchs to celebrate the history of man's best architects.
Many architect-trained people of colour have walked through these halls since the building's completion in 1934. I'm one of them. When I was 17 and excited to study architecture at university, I sat in Peter Zumthor's Royal Gold Medal address. The entire time I and others were in this hall, we gazed upon the culture of starchitecture and the brilliance of the architect. The speaker on stage looks onto us, and in doing so, the mural on the disappearing screen behind us too. Never did we think to turn around, but perhaps we were always looking in the wrong direction. We were perpetuating the choreography of the architect's power, the central council chamber, spreading knowledge and civilization to the lesser peoples of its empire. Our complicity in moments like this, and at institutions like the RIBA, continue to spatialize the exclusion of those not assimilated in the Eurocentric cultural hegemony. The RIBA's own royal charter, dating back to 1837, affirms these racialized infrastructures, clearly referring to an art esteemed in enlightened nations to promote a public of domestic convenience. The Dominion screen, too, on the first floor depicts more of these power relationships. The Dominion screen is set into a grid of squares, 5 by 4, horizontally the countries of Australia, South Africa, India, Canada, and New Zealand, vertically an axis organized by national animal, resource, subject, and flora. The screen itself, too, is carved out of imported Quebec pine timber from colonial Canada. It's the overall organization of the Dominion screen that highlights the injustices between capital A architecture institutions and their empire history, however. As decolonial theorists have articulated, the screen shows its subjects as meek, genderless, and childlike, synonymous with the virgin properties of a nature untamed. Mother Nature, mineral, and melanin are all flattened into a matrix of things to be extracted, managed, and manipulated by the British capitalist imperial machine. Perhaps this destructive 200-year timeline of modernity and progress is bending towards an arc of justice, given the emergence of POC leaders such as CEO Dr. Valerie Vaughan-Dick and President-elect Mowa Oki in 2022. However, they alone cannot counter a narrative of modernity, progress, and an empire still in building.
Mowa winning the RIBA and presidency, which it feels like a good moment of payoff, but then once you're involved in any of the work around it, you recognize that, well, look, there was work building up to that. There's work in the period now that he's president-elect. There's going to be work while he's president. There's going to be work after he's president, right? And so it's just really kind of shifting into a mindset where you're always engaged in a process.
How do you dismantle something that is so ingrained in, like, you know, a societal understanding of a profession as well, like in culture, like it's so ingrained in that. So how do you dismantle that from the inside?
Reorientating our coalitions out of these existing models, an alternative path may emerge from the layers of our professionalized training. We can let the sun set on the legacies of empire and our complicity by refusing the narrative that sees POC success as the developed fruits of an imperial machine. This project treats the parts of building material as a method of escape, to interrupt extraction and knowledge protection with the study and reclamation of its physical parts. What might we uncover in doing so? Superstructure would remain, while elements like timber, brick, and stone would be reused in situ or in other host sites under a leasehold arrangement, like library loans. Working in segments across the building, material like the Dominion screen panels would be partially removed for archival restoration or storage pending release. Words, books, material, and experience come together as a part of a larger and more representative collection. Remaining assemblies can then be read as part of a different story that forces both the public and the architect to confront the fragility of historical permanence. These actions lead to a site of multiple lives and constant rebuilding, a futurity that never stops at destination. Today, citizen action can already be undertaken. Official interpretations can be made, panels are already demountable, and information can be planted. This project speculates on taking citizen action further in the form of an accessible and recognizable how-to guide.
Welcome to RIBA Interrupted. You are accessing the how-to guide. Thank you for going through the mark, cut, and unbuilding segments. Please index onto the web platform with your mobile device. You may be interested in additional content in the collection. Wonderful, you have requested flooring. Please designate withdraw or deposit. Availability and item location can be accessed through your account profile. To become a member, please fill in the short form. If you have not yet participated in the collection process, please do so now to activate your account. Welcome, Randell. Your items can be added to basket in person or on catalog. Thank you for visiting today, and we hope you get home safe. We look forward to seeing you and the material return soon.
Interrupting the speech of the lone genius, the lecture hall becomes a community hall punctuated with motley seating and building cuts. Empire timbers have been partially removed and stored elsewhere, while the disappearing screen has fulfilled its namesake and disappeared in the basement. The events hall ejects its suited patrons to make room for the materials archive and unbuilding workshop. Where the exterior envelope is punctured, translucent membrane is hung as an intentional visual exposure to the site. Materials and citizen architects review, discuss, and await exchange of material holds. The traditional library and display cabinet format is dissolved to allow public interruptions to the institutional canon. A democratized landscape of knowledge emerges where materials, objects, books, and personal histories are all hosted and exchanged. The world outside has changed too. Soft landscaping envelops our roads and flora sprouts between the walked paths. Children are safe to play and adults take collective responsibility for a world after their own. Aspiration has become a collective practice of imagining and a shared and intersectional dream. The seeds of these worlds are already taking place in the other forms this project takes on. These fights extend far beyond these walls, and we cannot afford to simply let the current tape play forward. Calling in our communities to move on together is the healing process to a future entirely otherwise. You see, in between the cracks, within the seams, and in the lines between our words, our multiple worlds can emerge. Come, practice the collective and divine act of hope. Are you ready? We have everything to gain.